Imagine if someone removed 99% of the keys from a piano and then convinced you that what remained could play every song ever written. In a nutshell, that's human vision. We like to think we see reality, but right now, as you're watching this, your room is filled with light that you've never seen. Invisible colors passing straight through your body. Signals from distant galaxies are moving through your walls. Heat is radiating from every object around you. Flowers and birds are glowing with patterns that are completely invisible to you outside. Human eyes have only 3 color receptors. Some butterflies have 15, and cameras can photograph worlds that your eyes never will. But over 100 years ago, one British doctor may have accidentally caught a glimpse into a hidden world after inventing the strangest pair of eyeglasses you've never heard of. And if the legends are true, those same glasses revealed something terrifying in the jungles of a battlefield. Why are our eyes cut off from seeing so much of the light and energy in the world, when animals and even plants aren't? Did a series of strange experiments involving infrared photography dye and eyeglasses really offer up a glimpse of something invisible that surrounds your body? And were the nightmares that it was rumored to reveal a product of wartime stress, or a window into a different, twisted reality? Join me as we unravel all this and much more and enter the Codex Legendarium. I'm Shelby Melanson. You are immersed in a physical sea of sound, light, and energy that your body does not have the equipment to detect. No, really. Think back for a second to middle school science class. Your 6th grade science textbook probably told you that the light we see is called visible light, and maybe that the wavelengths of light that we can see range from around 380 to 700 nanometers long. For reference, that's roughly the width of a soap bubble membrane. The thing is, that range of visible light exists on a much bigger electromagnetic spectrum, and I mean much, much bigger. As in, your eyes can only see 0.0035% of the entire radiation spectrum. That means 99.9965% of all the energy surround you is completely invisible. To you, anyway. More on that part in a second. The radio waves from radio towers, your cell phone, and Wi-Fi are all buzzing around you. Your humble kitchen appliances blast microwaves into your leftovers to warm them up every day. Your body is radiating heat as infrared radiation into the air around you. The sun is bombarding you with enough ultraviolet for not only a summer tan, but maybe a sunburn, even though a ton of that actually gets absorbed by the atmosphere first. X-rays are not only floating around in space, but they're also visible at your local doctor's office on the wall. And the neighborhood nuclear power plant is pumping out gamma rays, albeit a small amount of them. And just for fun, it's the same story with sound, though we're mostly going to talk about sight for the purposes of this episode. But, real quick, humans can hear everything from around 20 to 20,000 hertz. Below that is infrasound, and above that is ultrasound. And theoretically, because of how mechanical sound waves work, there is no upper limit to how far the spectrum goes. Dogs can hear more than twice the range that we can, while bats and dolphins can hear up to 100,000 hertz, aka 5 times what we do for the purposes of echolocation. So, since everything that we perceive is within such a small range of what's actually out there, that means the reality of our perception is just a tiny, tiny sliver of what's really happening around us. Imagine if a creature only heard the sounds of a single violin, but believed it was hearing the entire symphony. That is the nature of our perception. So why is our sight so limited? The truth is, even though we can only see that small slice of radiation, our eyes can still perceive around 1 million distinct individual colors. Inside your eye, there are 2 kinds of cells that detect light, rods and cones. Rods help you see in low light and give you the power of peripheral vision, but cones are what let you see in color, aka they take in different wavelengths of light, and different cones take in different colors. S-type cones detect short wavelengths, what we see as blue. L-type cones are sensitive to long wavelengths, which we see as red, and M-type cones are in the middle and show us green. Though, in reality, it's not the cone cells that see color directly, it's your brain that interprets color based on the information from those cone cells. Much more on that later. One quick note here, some studies now say that actually roughly 12% of women have a special genetic mutation, giving them one extra type of cone and potentially the ability to see around 100 million colors instead of a million. But even the most generous estimates say that at best, it's mostly dormant in people and only 1% of women can actually use it, and the colors are probably just subtle variants of the ones the rest of us see. Sorry guys, also, this is an X chromosome thing only, but it does give new meaning to the question, is the red, blue, and yellow that I see the same as the red, blue, and yellow that you do? Now, here's what that 6th grade science textbook probably didn't tell you. The same 3 cones that show you an array of a million colors by mixing R, G, and B are also what's stifling your sight in the first place. Humans are the most intelligent life on Earth. We have superior brain design and function, and yet there are creatures that can see an infinitely truer picture of the world we live in than we do. Most birds have 4 cone types compared to our 3. And this is called tetrachromatic vision. Tetra meaning 4, just like that rare mutation we mentioned a second ago. But in birds, the 4th cone is usually called the U cone for ultraviolet or ultra-short wavelength, or the V cone for violet sensitive. Now, I know what you're thinking, what are you talking about? I can see the color violet. More on that next week, just hold on. Now, pigeons specifically take this a step further, with 5 cones, or pentachromatic vision. They need this because pigeons actually have special UV light-only patterns all over their feathers, and those patterns help each pigeon decide who to mate with. Imagine if you could just tell that someone would be a great match for you just by, say, looking at the markings on their arms, or the color of their hair, or, I don't know, the pattern in the sunscreen they're wearing. As for other eagle-eyed creatures, many species of butterflies have up to 9 different cone types in their eyes. But a landmark study on the common bluebottle butterfly blew that number out of the water back in 2016. Native to all regions across Asia, this bug has 15 types of photoreceptor cells in its eyes, compared to humans' 3. And this discovery had the study's lead author describing it as really stunning. Quote, butterflies may have a slightly lower visual acuity than ourselves, but in many respects they enjoy a clear advantage over us. They have a very large visual field, a superior ability to pursue fast-moving objects, and can even distinguish ultraviolet and polarized light. The closest comparison that we can understand for how butterflies see the world is through techniques like ultraviolet photography. But there's still one more creature that packs a punch visually and otherwise on this: the mantis shrimp. You might have heard of its famous fists, which can accelerate from its tiny body at a speed on par with a .22 caliber bullet. It packs so much force that it actually creates a split-second flash of light and temperatures of almost 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which also isn't that far off from the temperature of the surface of the sun. Wild, I know. What you might not know is that it also has a whopping 16 types of photoreceptors in its eyes. It's the most complex visual system of any animal, let alone humans. And while the shrimp's eye isn't designed to detect precise color, it is designed for precision and speed, plus unmatched depth perception. Obviously, with a punch like that, it needs it. In other words, this crustacean sees a visual world so unique that we can't model or even imagine what it looks like. A German biologist and philosopher actually came up with a term to describe exactly this. It's called Umwelt, meaning the surrounding world that an individual species of animal experiences. And heck, just for fun, even plants can see light that we humans can't. It's called far red light, and you can learn more about that one here. So, There's a lot of the world that is completely invisible to we humans, that our eyes are just not built to see somehow. But what if there was a way that we could see it? What if our eyes are capable of much, much more than we think, but our brains are filtering out all that additional information for some reason? Well, one British doctor in London stumbled on exactly that. What he believed was a way to reveal layers of hidden reality. What he didn't anticipate was falling down one of the strangest rabbit holes in history. British physician Walter John Kilner worked as head of the electrotherapy department at St. Thomas's Hospital in London for 14 years, from 1879 to 1893, and was a respected member of the Royal College of Physicians. Given his work with electricity, he became fascinated with earlier research on light radiation. And inspired by those findings, he started experimenting with a whole bunch of different kinds of dye applied to glass lenses that, when worn like a pair of glasses or looked through like a sheet, might change how we see the world and other people. One of those dyes was called dicyanin, and it was made from a kind of coal tar. The same chemical was later used in photography during the early 1900s to allow camera sensors to detect and photograph infrared light. Just for reference, remember that. When Kilner tested what would happen if he dipped glass sheets in dicyanin and looked at other people through them, what he found shocked him. He said the dicyanin goggles allowed him to see glowing, colorful fields of light that extended outside the physical body. He called it the human atmosphere, and the book he wrote on it describes how his findings put him in a, quote, peculiar position. You see, Dr. Kilner was a man of science, and the only descriptions or theories about auras at the time came from what he called the occult or spirituality, which weren't particularly helpful to his scientific rigor. Quote, "From the first moment of seeing the human atmosphere, I determined to investigate the subject apart from all occultism, and to remain unbiased, did not read any accounts of the aura until a large number, over 60, of the patients had been inspected. It may as well be stated at once that we make not the slightest claim to clairvoyancy, nor are we occultists, and we especially desire to impress on our readers that our researches have been entirely physical and can be repeated by anyone who takes sufficient interest in the subject." So, with all that said, Dr. Kilner was on his own. And through his experiments, he found that these human atmospheres revealed a whole lot more than just color. Dr. Kilner wrote in his book that the auras of healthy people looked a lot different than those of unhealthy people. Illness could make a person's aura dim, take on some kind of irregular shape, like a contraction or a bulge, or it could make them become yellow or otherwise discolored. Scientific medical conditions reportedly produced consistent effects, such that changes in a person's aura could actually help diagnose if there was something wrong with the patient, especially for things like epilepsy and nervous breakdowns. Other conditions like fatigue and the health of a person's mental state had similar effects, with things like depression making a person's aura smaller and less distinct, while other states like pregnancy caused color shifts and made the auras bigger. But as if all that wasn't enough, Kilner believed his invention could not only let us see more, but fundamentally transform what our eyes can see on their own. He believed that if a person regularly trained their naked eyes by looking through these dye-tinted glass lenses or screens, they could actually train their eyes to see auras without the glass. Hypothetically speaking, if that were true, it would seem to suggest that the problem of limited sight isn't an issue with our hardware, our eyes. It's that the brain is filtering out certain kinds of information, and that it is possible, again, hypothetically, to train your brain to allow you to see them. Now, as you might expect, there were plenty of naysayers, including reviews in the British Medical Journal and scientists like Oscar Bagnell, who dismissed Kilner's experiments as pseudoscience. Shocker there. It's clear to me from reading his book that Kilner, as a scientist, understood that a lot of people were going to dismiss this work as way too far out. And he tried to address that in his own words. Quote, everything that has been stated in this book as being a fact is true. But we know that enthusiasm and imagination are wont to lead experimenters astray, and we have consequently endeavored to do our best not to overstate any incident. There cannot be the smallest doubt as to the reality of the existence of an aura enveloping human beings, and this will be in a short time a universally accepted fact, now that it can be made visible to anyone possessing normal eyesight. It would indeed be strange if the aura did not vary under different circumstances, and we firmly believe that a study of its modifications will show that they have diagnostic value. Personally, this brings to mind one of my favorite quotes from yet another British scientist, Michael Faraday. Quote, "Nothing is too wonderful to be true if it be consistent with the laws of nature." Remember earlier when I said that all of this feeds into one of the strangest rabbit holes in history? Well, as it turns out, these goggles found themselves far outside Kilner's lab some decades later and onto the nightmarish battlefields of the Vietnam War. Now, I'd like to preface this by saying, based on my research, there are no official scientific documents or declassified military records that verify the story I'm about to tell. That's it. It's also one of many, many stories that describe unusual, unexplained phenomena that were never proven, but also never disproven. And I tend to believe there's a lot more going on in the world than meets the eye, and we shouldn't necessarily brush things off just because we haven't proven them yet. So, take this with a grain of salt and whatever intrigue, food for thought, or curious entertainment it might bring you. The story, allegedly, goes like this. Experimental, red-tinted, infrared night vision devices coated with the same chemical dye Kilner used, dicyanin, were sent out to the battlefield. Typically, the soldiers that got them were pilots, gunners, or night patrol units, who naturally needed to be able to see well in the pitch-black darkness of the Vietnamese jungle. But what they saw terrified them. Not only did they see auras just like Kilner wrote about, soldiers who put on the red-tinted goggles started reporting bizarre incidents, feelings of intense dread, disembodied whispers, and creatures that began to appear. Shadow entities that looked like winged humanoid figures with horns, creatures that could fly, and other unknown grotesque entities. Some reports said helicopter gunners would fire off into the air at random during missions, and when questioned, they described seeing demons or dragons, massive winged creatures with glowing eyes and leathery wings flying next to or even above their helicopters. But what made the soldiers' blood run cold was that these entities reportedly noticed the soldiers looking at them and stared right back. According to the stories, the troops' terror was so intense that it caused massive hysteria, even with incidents of friendly fire. Within 60 days, the night vision devices were decommissioned and replaced with green-tinted ones. And quickly, the stories of horrors ceased. There is no official evidence that red night vision goggles were ever deployed during the Vietnam War. And any incidents of panic or terror have been blamed on soldiers' fatigue, combat stress, and PTSD. You know, things that might make them, according to the reports, mistake bats or owls for something more sinister. Nonetheless, the stories persisted as military lore and fueled speculation that the Vietnam War was somehow tied into the supernatural. I'm gonna let you make up your own mind on that one. Somewhere beyond what's visible to human eyes, there may be colors that we've never imagined, patterns we've never perceived, and entire dimensions of experience hidden in plain sight. If you put a human, a bird, a butterfly, and a tiny crustacean next to each other, each one would see an entirely different universe all around them. Technology like infrared and ultraviolet photography give us hints about what the true picture looks like with tetra or pentachromatic vision. But the more advanced the set of eyes, the less our brains are capable of imagining that form of reality. Is the universe hiding from us? Or were we created without the ability to see more for a reason? Whether Kilner's strange glasses actually revealed hidden energy fields, whether the stories from Vietnam were a product of exhaustion and stress, or if those soldiers really did see something otherworldly and otherwise invisible, is hard to say. But one thing is for certain. We know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that our eyes reveal only a tiny fraction of the universe. And as for that tiny sliver that we can see, in the words of Albert Einstein, quote, "Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one." But what do you think? What would life be like with more advanced vision? What would we see if we could bypass the limits of our own eyes? Would we even want to see what's truly out there? And the age-old question, is the red that I see the same red that you do? I would love to hear your thoughts all about this in the comments, and if you have an idea for something you'd like to see a future episode on, let me know. And of course, if you enjoyed this deep dive into mysteries, myths, culture, and science, please take a second to like and share this video, hit the hype button, and if you want to see more, subscribe. I upload every Tuesday, and it really helps get the word out there about the show. Until next time, stay curious and stay legendary. And also, real quick before you go, YouTube thinks you will like this video next, so you might want to check it out. Thank you.